some shows on that, but.
Okay, let's open the meeting of New Orleans County Council. Let's start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, it's warm tonight, everyone's here, so guess we start out with the board reorganization.
Okay, I will open the floor for nominations for president of the council for 2024.
I nominate Mike.
Okay, are there any other nominations? I will entertain a motion to close the nominations.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. And now I will open the floor for nominations for vice president of the council for 2024.
I'll nominate Sonia Hoss for vice president.
Are there any other nominations? I will entertain a motion to close the nominations.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that is your officers if they choose to accept the job.
Yes. Like I said.
All right.
Mike, I'll let you take over.
Okay, so first on the agenda, the meeting minutes of December 27th were sent out to us. Any additions, changes? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the minutes December 27th is posted.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Second.
Darrell made a motion and Ron seconded, so any further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Sheriff, are you ready to?
I am. Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. First thing on that I wanted to talk about was the purchase of the vehicles. I had sent out an email explaining what the vehicles that we anticipate buying would be the 2024 Dodge Durangos, which is the state bid again for 2024. The total price that for the vehicles would be $177,728. And then to outfit them, I estimated that as $10,000 per car, which is a very high end, just to cover, make sure we had enough. So the total price that I would be asking for the 4 vehicles is $217,728.
Okay, so I'll open the floor to any discussion first. I think it's kind of self-explanatory what you're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the email, sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I don't necessarily know at this point what we would trade in. We do anticipate trading 4 vehicles in, but the 4 that we have today would have been 3 Durangos and a Ford Explorer. But as you know, I don't know when these vehicles are going to get built, so that could be a couple months down the road. And at that point, it may change, but the anticipation is that we would trade in 4 vehicles, whether it would be those that I said today, or it could change as far as one other one that we just need to get rid of, or whatever the case may be, but we would get rid of 4 vehicles.
No, I know last year, I think at the same time when I first came on, it was 4 Durangos last year, according, when I looked back in my notes. Did we end up, it was showing 41,955, which we, plus the outfitting, which you said was 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Did that turn out? I guess I never did hear. Did we purchase those 4 and did it turn out, were they pretty close then?
Yeah, the price is going to be, actually, we turned some money in at the end of the year. I'm not sure exactly how much, but
Okay.
we did not use it all for the total package as far as outfitting and stuff like that. So
Okay, so then the 41,955, we're going to 44, what did you say it was?
44,432 is the quote that I got from John Jones.
So that'd be roughly 6-8% or something, so that's probably,
I didn't look as far as.
I know, I'm just roughing that and just roughing that in my head, I had my notes from last year, I just dug them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, I had sent out the meeting, kind of the synopsis of the meeting
Mhm.
that we had last Thursday to the council members. And I don't know if there's any questions. I know the question was the rotation plan, and I think, and the procedure of getting, everyone else goes to the commissioners, and then they come to us for the funding, and the commissioners approve the purchase first, because they're the purchasing agent. So anybody got any questions on that part of it? What I sent out?
I think I just got a clarification. None of these are being paid through, you're asking to pay through your commissary account, are they? Either
Two
one?
of them, if you read the email
Yeah.
further.
And that's what I was kind of wondering.
The two Chevrolet Tahoes is what I was, what I'm going to pay out of the commissary account.
So what if that commissary account doesn't fund replacing those in the future? What is your plan then for that? Or are you
Well, if
waiting
we
until
have a
the
rotation
commissary
plan
account
of
gets?
four vehicles a year, I think it can sustain that.
Okay.
Because,
You're just gonna wait until there's enough money in there to replace whatever vehicle needs to be replaced at the time and then probably do it that way then? I'm just kind of concerned.
I don't know.
If coming back and asking for more to adding in another vehicle outside of that commissary, because I know you said that's why I thought you were gonna pay through the commissary account, that's why you wanted to add them in.
Yes,
So I just want to make sure in the future we had the money kind of figured out what.
I think if we do
gonna come out of.
a
if we need
4-vehicle
to
rotation.
kind of
I think
identify
you're gonna-
each of those or not.
I mean, the future's hard to predict because if we add more officers,
Yeah, I know.
it might jump to 5 a year. But 4 is, right now, is sustainable. And the commissary account is sustainable to do these.
So two came out of there last year.
Right, 2 Tahoes came out of there last year also. Which we're still working on those 2 Tahoes. They're not on the road yet.
Oh, is that right?
We got them.
Okay,
We're just trying to get them outfitted. Parts are not coming in, but
surprise.
they will be.
I'm sorry if you said this a moment ago, but in your, trying to get myself organized, all the emails, you had said that there were 29, but then when I counted, there were 36 on the list. Am I confused on something? Or was it just a typo?
Well, yeah,
Because of the training being a trailer?
Some
Okay.
trailers.
and
Three of them were
That
trailers.
still doesn't.
There's still- can I come up there?
Yeah, oh, please, yeah.
You have some that are duplicated.
Okay,
You have names on yours.
oh, like who it's issued to?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, so some of them, like, I know John Anderson's, Jesus was jumping ahead on that, so he took John's truck and moved it, like, he has it up here and he has it down.
Okay,
And then we
that's okay,
get
just
charged.
wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah, there's actually 29
Okay,
vehicles.
33 titles. I checked my list to all my titles and I have 33 vehicle titles.
Well, you're counting the
Trailers.
Toyota Corolla
Yeah,
as
well,
one, you're counting the van as one,
right.
which I don't count them. Because they're not gonna be on a rotation.
So they're on my list though.
Right, they're on your list, but they're not gonna be on a vehicle rotation.
okay.
The Toyota Corolla that we have is a drug seizure car.
Right.
The courts ordered that to the sheriff's office, so that's not, I mean, I can trade it, but it's not gonna be, I'm not going to.
You're not gonna get it for it.
Right, yeah, and I'm not gonna ask the council to give me another car for that one, so if we get rid of that one, it's just gonna be a benefit. The van, we purchased that one in 2019, that's gonna be with us for a long time. So those are the things that you're seeing on there. And probably our side-by-side is on there too, I would assume.
Yes, it's on there.
So,
Tom, I've been by that specialty dealership where you guys are getting them. Seems like they are Dodge or Stellantis heavy. Does the salesman feel like, because you go to different towns and you kind of see a trend on what they're using, but you do see a lot of the Dodges. You feel like the cost of ownership or whatever, ownership, $1 per mile is pretty good on those Durangos, or In some cities, it seems like you see the Fords, but I know probably a higher bid on the vehicles.
They are. The Explorer's about 10,000 more for the Dodge. The Chevy Tahoe is only about $3,000 or $4,000 more than the Dodge. But I was explaining to Mike and Chad the other day, so when we said we wanted the Dodge Durango, they say, okay, I don't even know what the base price is. But here's the X amount, and then you kind of build it from there. But like the spec that comes out is what the state has bid on, and that's the spec. So that's basically bottom dollar. And then which we got the backup camera and some add-ons like that. So. But another thing with him is with the dealership that we go through is if for some reason we have a vehicle that maybe gets wrecked and gets totaled, we can call them and they can give us one because they have them there, where somebody else doesn't. You just don't get one.
It looks like a sheriff's convention when you drive by the place.
Yeah.
Well, I for one appreciate the fact that you're working with Mike and Chad, and it's a lot easier, like when, if a department comes in and they've got everything listed out, maintenance schedules and stuff, it's a lot easier for us to be able to understand, because ultimately we're the ones that are held accountable if something, goes awry. So that makes it a lot easier and a lot easier for us to justify the purchases to, anybody that, the public, whoever has questions. So thank you for working to get all that stuff organized where it's, a lot easier for us to understand.
Next year will be a lot better. We'll have a lot more. I did like the way the hospital did it, so we're going to kind of implement something like that. So don't worry.
I appreciate you guys working together to do that.
Any other discussion on this, or otherwise I'll look for a motion sometime.
You would do a consensus to advertise,
Just a consent.
because we haven't got these advertised.
So that would, then you would be able to, if the commissioner, you could be able to come back in February. Okay, so all in.
And that's for the four Durangos.
Right, it's 200, what is it?
217,728.
So,
Those are for just the two vehicles, though. So we gonna do
That's
two
four.
separately?
it's 4 vehicles.
4 vehicles.
Two would come commissary.
Four
Four would come from you.
Yeah.
We really don't, right, we really don't technically prove it as a council. The commissary.
For the commissary.
We do, we're ultimately responsible, but it's really.
Right.
At this point, it's your discretion, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's your commissioners to do that, I guess, deal with that, right?
Correct.
And I'm assuming Cume Cap funds?
That's right, that's right, everybody, that's how we did it in the past, I think. Any other discussion, further discussion? So otherwise, all in favor, raise your hand. It's advertised for this amount. Still got control over next month.
So then if the commissioners approve it, then come back and.
In February.
Yeah, I'll advertise it for the February meeting.
Did we all, was it consensus? I didn't know, I didn't see anything. Sorry. Okay, and then the other thing.
The other thing I just want to ask about the 2 deputies that we did not get the grant for. At this point, there is no grant out there. I'm not saying that there won't be, but I don't know. Nobody seems to know that you call and ask. So there's nothing that has changed in our operations to say that we don't need extra officers. So I'm just here to ask the council to, I have no more data to bring you, anything like that. That's, you are all very aware of where our needs are. So I'm just asking that the council approve the funding of the 2 positions that the commissioners, where they approved the positions.
I think during our, just to go back on it, during our budget discussions, I think we had a show of hands and we decided that, if we didn't get the COPS grant, we wouldn't fund it. So, that's where we're at right now. So, we have to have some discussion here if we want to change that And we had planned to do a reduction and take those back off.
Why did you vote to not fund them? I mean, did we not prove the point that we needed them, that the county needs them? I mean, I guess I'm just curious on what the reasoning was. I mean, I think when I gathered with each one of them individually, there was no question that we didn't need them. And then the conversations that me and you had, I thought it was going to be funded and then it was taken off. So like, what changed?
I don't know, during the budget hearing, it just came out that way. I
Well,
think we couldn't get the majority.
and I think when we reviewed and we did the research and the studies, I think we were in agreement. I know I've told you this individually, 3 to 4 people is what we kind of thought that we would do. But when we went through, we decided that, today's world's changed a little bit. It's like now you have to go and get grant funding. That's basically a major funding mechanism to operate, at a local level, the way it's dictated from the federal government. So we decided that to be a good steward of the taxpayers' money, we need to utilize the grants if we can, So we tied those last year when we approved the 2 position was to get the COPS grant, and for whatever reason, they didn't get approved. So, but the idea is if we don't want to create 2 positions and then leave $250,000 on the table, where the taxpayers have to foot that bill, when we're ultimately at the federal level, we're footing it already. Do we know, when did we apply for the COPS grants last year? What time frame was that? Was that March or April
Early.
It
or?
was January, it was February or March.
My understanding is
May,
that
we
those
were
will open again this year. That's coming from
What's that?
Region 15 from the meeting that I had last week.
Yeah.
That those would open again, because there are several different groups within our region that are
Would-
applying for it again.
What'd you say, Alex?
I think in May, Jesus came to the meeting and was waiting for an answer that he didn't get until the end of May or September, whenever it was, but he updated us in May, so it was definitely done before then.
Before May. I don't remember one of the grants, but I know that there is nothing on their website now. And even if there is, there's nothing that's going to guarantee us to get it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my question is, the needs haven't stopped. So are we just gonna continue to wait to see if we get grants every year? Are we going to address a need that we presented?
Well, I don't think we haven't disagreed that the need is there, but to be prudent, stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, that if ultimately we might, I don't want to approve a position now myself personally, and I'll say in 2 months from now, the COPS grants open up and there's $250,000 sitting there waiting to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. I think we need to wait for those. And I'm not gonna tell you how to run your office. You have to figure out all the staffing issues, to make it work. You move accordingly and, I'll support you on that, but I don't think it's needed. I don't disagree that we need them. I've been public that I think we do, but I think we need to be frugal and prudent and wait for the funding. It's my personal opinion.
But what if we don't get the funding? I mean, how long are you gonna keep pushing it off on this grant?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know that. I don't have the answer to that. I guess we'll have to cross that if it doesn't come. I feel confident that there's going to be, when you talk to grant writers and things that, and not necessarily just for you. I can't
No, I
speak
get it.
specifically to the COPS grants, but there's a lot of dollars out there that the federal government's just begging to give to a good cause, which just seems to be a good one. So, I feel that it's going to be, that it'll probably be funded. I can't guarantee you that. And I can't guarantee you what my answer will be if they say, no, there's not going to be a grant, or yes, there'll be a grant. I think it's prudent to wait a couple months and see. And if we can save $250,000, I think we need to do that. That's my personal opinion.
My perspective is, coming at it is, does the county have the money to fund continuously these 2, more positions? And as right now, when I look at the numbers, I can't in good conscience at 2 positions without some sort of extra help coming from somewhere else than what we already bring in. So the money, in my eyes, is not there to kind of feel that we're not going to be going in the black or red every year after this from funding new positions. In the last 6, 8 years, we've added several new positions, and that's been a strain on the budget. So I think we just need to be cautious. I'm more cautious now because looking at the trends of the amount of money that we're getting in and spending, it's not going in the right direction in my eyes.
Well,
So,
if I may, say something on what your question is there, or your concern is, when I originally addressed the need, there was a funding option presented. It was not something that y'all were wanting to do, which is fine, but I presented that. So I don't like to hear that we don't have a funding option, because it's there if you choose to do it. So that's why I don't like that worded. So if that's not something that you're willing to do on that funding option, then is anybody working on a funding option besides a grant? Like, how are we going to, the need is not going away, and the county is only getting bigger. So if we fall behind, we're just going to continuously fall behind. And to just sit there and say we can't sustain it, like what's the next step? How do we get to that point that we can't sustain it? I don't have that answer. I'm just asking.
I think that's something that when you're asking for new positions, that should be something that's included in that, though. Extra funding resources.
It was.
Now, you said that the county is growing, but our percentage of population that's in the county is actually, is shrinking as far as comparison to
believe
the
that?
cities. Sorry,
Do you really believe that?
I can only go off of census data, I don't know.
I get that. But I think you know as well as I do that the county is growing by way more numbers than the census is putting out there.
Point taken.
We are funding this new deputy social worker. We did fund that, or, it's partially through a grant, but, what I would like to see, in my opinion, would be, I think, we need to scrutinize that grant a little closer, that we wouldn't have a mistake. There was a mistake on it the last time that got pushed back. I don't know if that caused us not to get it. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
But I think if we would take the time, if it is in May or whatever, whatever, if it's March, April, May, I'd like to put some real effort into getting that grant. And I don't know if we can possibly go through Region 15 this time. I don't know.
They're available to do it, I know that.
To use somebody that we kind of fund instead of going out.
Yeah.
I'm going to be critical of whoever did it, but I'm just saying, I think if we at least give it a try, and then, then we would know, and then we would have to make.
I'm willing to try that, absolutely. I just wanted to give some food for thought on, from what I said. So
Daryl made some good points there with the money, if the money
Sure.
is available.
I totally agree.
And a lot of departments around our area got them, so I don't know why Du Bois County wasn't,
I wish I had the answer.
Well, that's not for any of us to figure out, that, that's not our decision, but I don't know, unless somebody.
No, I want to say, it's not that I don't want to support you and don't want to support all your employees, because they all do a great job. If we can somehow make this work, and utilize, save the taxpayers a couple, $250,000 by waiting a month or 2 or 3, until they get around.
If it's something like last year, it won't come out until October. So just, that's
True.
I get it. I'm willing to do what we have to do.
What do we know on the deputy social workers you mentioned? I think that
I think we got a conference call. Jenny would probably be able to answer that.
February 7th, number stuff.
to know that it went through for sure, that
They
everything was worked
approved
out.
the scope where we changed the grant, where we changed the
Yes.
title of the person. They've approved that. We're waiting on the budget right now. Once the budget approval gets changed to that position, then we can move forward to planning implementation. Our goal is June, is our hope,
Okay.
to have the money and the funding and be able to start the position.
Unless somebody wants to make a motion here or do something different, otherwise I think I'd like to wait personally. I think my vote to wait.
All right. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next here is the prosecutor, Jeff Freer.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I pretty well explained my request in my email to all of you, but I can go through it again. Basically, I submitted a request for a new administrative staff person for circuit court for my budget for 2024. And as part of that request, I asked for the same salary that all of my other administrative people are paid, which is $43,592. So again, this is my fault, this is my mistake, but I didn't catch that you guys approved the position, but you approved it for a lower salary. So when I hired for the position, I made the offer to the employee the same that everybody else in my office makes, because I just, again, my fault, assumed that it was the same as everyone else. And she accepted the offer, and then fast forward, it's time for payroll, and Sandy calls over, or Brooke, and says, that's not what the position was approved for. And so then we go back and look at the budget documents and realize, no, that wasn't what it was approved for. So I feel bad that I've made her this offer, which is $3,000 more, $3,500 more than what she's gonna be paid. So my proposition is that I am requesting an appropriation out of my pretrial diversion fund for the difference, which would be $3,552, so that I could pay her what I told her I would pay her. And it's not coming out of the county's budget, it's coming out of my pretrial diversion fund. And I just think that it's only fair that she would make the same as everyone else because she's doing the same job as everyone else.
So is this gonna ever change to come out of the general fund in the future, or is that for just this year?
Well, that was for just this year, and then next year I would ask that she be paid the same as everyone else out of the general fund.
Did this happen in a different department, basically the same thing, where
Was-
we approved a certain amount, then it was advertised at a different amount?
It was technically, my memory serves me that it was the same department. It was when we hired the community corrections person. You know, we had this set amount, they came in, they promised the person that he would make this amount, comes in here and tells us that that's what we're gonna pay him. Well, I don't know if that's, if that's kosher or proper. We're the ones that set the pay scale. So, but it did happen again, yes, to answer your question. And like I say, it's technically the same department. So, I don't know anybody want to make any other comments or?
Honest mistake.
Is there gonna be any pushback from the other employees that are experienced in your department if everybody's starting out the same?
No. The thing with my department is that I have one lady that's been there longer, but most of my department is relatively new. And so it's not like I have a 20-year employee making the same as the new girl. So no, it's not an issue. I think it has been more of an issue in the past when certain employees made more than others, because then, some employees will look at other employees and be like, well, I work harder than you, and then you make more than me, but I do more than you, so I should get more. And honestly, I think it makes more sense to have them all make the same, at least in my department. I know in some departments that doesn't make sense, but they're all doing the same job. They all have the same job responsibilities. So I think it's fair that they all make the same.
I think, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna ask, does she have the same, she doesn't have the same experience and background, though, does she?
Well, to be honest, and I think this is a fair statement, there's nobody in my office that came to my office having previously worked in a prosecutor's office. So everybody that comes into my office, I always tell them, as long as you have the personality and the knowledge and the intelligence to learn what we need to do, I can teach you anything. So it's not really a matter, and she does have computers because she worked in a doctor's office for a long period of time. She basically has, I think, close to 20 years experience as an administrative staff person. So she has the skills. She doesn't have prosecutor's office skills, but nobody does when it comes, so.
Most of them. gonna say, I mean, normally in the past, we always looked at, to avoid this situation, I guess, we always, like to see somebody, as a probationary time, because she could leave tomorrow,
She could.
and, I think that was our goal here again, at budget time, that's what we thought, that if we hire somebody, let them work their way up, we would increase it next year.
And I apologize. It's on me. I should have caught it, but I didn't. And so,
It doesn't make it any better.
yeah.
I mean, I just don't know, I kind of think, my opinion would be in some ways that, that we would, see how she what kind of employee she's gonna be.
She's
before
doing
we-
well thus far.
before
She's
we-
catching on with this.
Before we, decide to push her to the top of the scale. So, or equal to the other people that's in the office, that would be my opinion, so.
I just didn't, my position is, I totally appreciate your position and your stance. My position is, it's not fair to her that I made her this offer and then I paid her $3,000 less. I just don't think that's fair.
It's just that, I think when we spoke, there's so many people that don't make $40,000 a year. She's gonna make 40, not she's gonna make 43.
Yeah.
We approved it for 40,000.
Mhm.
So I just, I don't know, I just don't think it's fair to the other employees. Even though you made the offer, I mean, I guess if she doesn't want to pay, she'd have to look for a different job.
Sure.
But,
And then I'm back at square one again.
right, but you have to, as a department head, you have to, we put a lot of money in the insurance program, the health insurance program. There's no one that's got the program that we have as a county. So, I don't know, so anybody else want to make a comment?
I would just kind of mirror that a little bit of the snowball effect of other things. I think what we do here will stand if any department heads or if any other, how do we say yes to this one and then no to another is my fear of this going forward on a hiring mistake. So
I think the distinction is that a lot of other departments don't, sheriff's office does, but a lot of other departments don't have their own funding stream like I do with pretrial diversion. A lot of other departments are gonna come out of the county general fund, and this is not.
That was gonna be my question to Sandy. We can do that, because, we try to, we have to pay everyone out of the general fund. Can we pay for
Part of my
You
employees,
can do a part,
the victim
In
advocate
this
and my
case, in this
investigator are
department,
paid, yes, out of the pretrial diversion already, partially, so it already happens.
But it's a one-shot deal. So next year, the
It
general
would go
fund
into the
pays for
general
it. So.
now, I just want to read, if you would do this, $3,552 would be salary, you'd also have to match that with benefits. So I calculated roughly $670 more would have to come out for benefits. You got to do your matching FICA and PERPA.
Right. Okay. Any other comments?
Now, the other thing that we've kind of done between HR and our office is if people want new positions, they have to kind of come and we do the salary first before you can advertise for the position. So we'll stop this hopefully in the future.
No, I was just gonna say, I've been in your shoes, I've done stupid things on quotes, and it's my fault, but I'd say you're a good judge of character. You know who will fit in that office. I've been there, so I would vote to increase it to the equal amount that, since you pay everyone equally.
I appreciate that.
So, no other discussion, otherwise I'll entertain a motion one way or the other.
I'd make the motion to make the pay 43,942.
$592.
592, what's your request?
We got a motion on the floor, we have a second.
I'll second.
Doug is seconded, so any further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye. It's 4-3, 4-2,
4-2.
5-2.
5-2.
5-2.
Well,
All right.
I think you can explain it to her and maybe at some point come in and, if we want to raise her incrementally,
But Sandy, are you saying then going forward that this would be, that that's the recommended, to go and talk about salary first? And I would also.
No, what
if
I'm
we
saying
prevent
is,
it for
in the future, like say
future.
she's gonna advertise for a position.
Mhm.
Before Marky advertises, he's gonna send something to us so we can say, here's the salary ordinance. This is the most you can do.
And that's in place now? You're
Well,
saying
we
going
just now are trying to put this in place because we don't want this to happen again with somebody else.
And I don't like just to say no as a rule, I like to make sure there's something that
Because we're
that
really
changes
trying
the
to
action, I
put the
guess.
salary ordinance out there so that the department head knows.
Okay.
I mean, it's an honest mistake, but
Yeah.
we're
Oh,
trying
I
to, we're
agree
trying to
with
have,
that.
find state safeguards.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good point. He's improved that situation.
Right.
Because the conversation I had with him, he said he couldn't have done anything, but it was already done before he got it.
Right.
So,
So if we can get information to you, so you know not to do it, it helps.
But if Marky would have caught it, I mean, and by all means, this is not Marky's fault, but if Marky would have caught it and Marky would have said it to me before she started, before she gave notice to her other job, I could have said, hey, wait, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that this was only 40. If you want to change your mind, you know,
Which he doesn't have the salary
Sure.
ordinance as we do. So
Sure.
that's why we're trying to get in the loop.
sure,
okay. Well, I appreciate you bringing it in,
Yep.
so.
thank you. Have a good night, guys.
See you.
Thank you.
Okay. So does the prosecutor have to be here for this? Nothing else here that she needs? No. I thought she had.
On that, on the additional.
Oh, no, she didn't have to be here unless, I just put her up there with you if you wanted her here, but we can do it.
No problem, I just wondered if she was here.
I mean,
I can't talk about
is she
that.
still out there? Does she want to? We can do it later.
Okay. So, I guess, Jenna,
It's actually Jones, so definitely.
I forgot to put Jones on the end on the first one, but I did put it on the second one.
Yeah, hi, so I'm
so it's
Genevieve
3 names,
Jones.
it's Genevieve Jones?
So I kept Beaker as a second middle name.
Okay.
Yeah. in case
That was
I ever
my
wanted
bad.
to
I
run
knew her before
for
she was
anything.
married, and I put Jen Beaker on there and sent it
Does that
out.
cause you a lot of trouble on forms? I also did the same thing, and it seems to cause me a lot of trouble.
Yes, because some places my last name is magically hyphenated,
Yeah,
some places
same here.
it's one or the other or both. I actually kept it in case I ever want to run for anything and I can advertise as both because a lot of people professionally know me under my maiden name. So, and I love Grace, but he didn't do that work, right? So, yeah, it does. So, good evening. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Substance Abuse Council. You know, we come every year and we ask for funds to be granted that are state designated to be in a fund that we're allowed to spend. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the council. The first thing I have for you is our vision statement and our mission statement. So we aspire to reduce the impact that substance misuse has on our community through collaborative efforts. The really cool thing about our council is it brings a lot of different people to the table. In the last couple of years, we've been really fortunate to rebuild our attendance. We have the mayor comes into our meeting, and sometimes the prosecutor is there, and sometimes, you know, probation's always there, and the hospital's always there, and LifeSpring's always there. So it's a really wonderful environment for all of the players to be together. And we get to know what each other is doing. And some of my favorite moments are when I have this idea and somebody's like, oh, we're already doing that. Let's meet after the meeting. Beautiful, right? It's just coming together. The second thing is our mission, which is to reduce substance abuse and problems associated with it in Du Bois County youth and adults in order to enhance family and community life. So you guys know, right? There's a lot beyond just the individual's personal health and concern and substances in our community, but also like employers don't have employees because they're struggling with substance use. It's a big burden on our taxpayers as far as jail services and treatment program and what can we do to try to prevent it before it's an issue, right? Go a little farther up the river and catch them before they're going in, which is a lot of our efforts. So I did want to take a second and say I have Joe Crutchfield here, who's representative for the council. And then Jenny Lambert, who's been a representative for forever. Yeah. So some good support here tonight. Another thing I wanted to talk about is our meeting, which you all are welcome to attend. They are open to the public. And we currently have a room at the library that they allow us to use. It is the Hickory Room A and B, which we need both of. And we're pretty close to outgrowing, which is not where things were whenever I started with the council in 2019, and so we've just really been able to build up, and it's been wonderful. So that meeting is the second Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. at the Jasper Public Library in the Hickory Rooms. So we would love to have you come and attend. Some other things I wanted to talk about for the past year, besides our growing attendance and consistent growing attendance, is we had our overdose awareness vigil, which Daryl was there. I was so excited to see you there. I would definitely invite you to share anything you have to say about the event. We had that at the Birdside Park. We finally reached over 100 people. So we have been able to consistently pull from other recovery communities like Celebrate Recovery, and the Dove House was there, and Scott Heiberger brought a crew from Lagodi from the recovery housing there. So it was a really impactful event. Is there anything you want to?
Yeah, I went up there last fall, and I normally don't shed too many tears, but there was one there, I was fighting a couple back. There was a lot of people that were totally open and honest, and, you know, they just laid everything on the table and wanted to share their experiences, good, bad, and different, and hopefully that would inspire somebody else. So no, it was really a great gathering.
And it was the first time that it was very clear to me that we actually had someone that was just at the park who came and spoke on the mic, who was very clearly still in active use. And we were able to meet with that individual afterwards, and they took some of our Narcan doses and put it in the Birdseye like little free library. So it was a really wonderful event. So it's nice to see that the things we've been trying to make hallmarks of our organization are really getting traction.
And they were over at the basketball courts playing, right? That's what it was. And then the speakers were getting up and people were sharing their experiences. And here comes
And they're
the
like,
person
keep it
right
over.
from over there from playing basketball on the basketball court and felt inspired to share.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
It was really cool.
Took courage.
I always struggle with, I'm not a huge crier either, but whenever they share and just the raw vulnerability, that gets me as well. Another thing that we do, as you know, which is why I'm here for the funding, is our annual grant process. So last year we funded out, actual number, it was over $31,658.57. And that was us trimming a lot of the applications we received. So last year, I want to say it was almost double of the funds we had to give, we were requested, received applications for. So that was, it wasn't my favorite grant process because I tell people no. It's a lot more fun when you have the money and you can tell them all yes, right? Like you guys can relate to that. But we were able to really like sit there and kind of hash out, okay, where does the money need to go? And I don't know if you received this or you want me to talk about this at all. I don't want to give you too many details, but I also don't want to feel like I'm, keeping any information away. So I'll talk a little bit about it. So our grant funding and our funds in general are always broken into 4 categories. So we have our discretionary, which also includes like our coordinator pay and all of that administrative cost. And then we have prevention education, treatment intervention, and criminal justice services. So this past year, we had $10,552.86 in each one of those categories, and we funded it all out. We even actually had to pull a little from our discretionary account to be able to really fund the grants that we felt like we needed the funding. And there were some that we didn't get to fund fully that we wish we could have. So I'll give you some of them. Like, we're longstanding supporters of the Medication Collection Day, Drug Take Back. I actually volunteer every year at ISD, and it's a lot of fun. We were able to fund a local Girl Scout troop that was wanting to plant a herb and vegetable garden at the Dove House. So we were able to give them a whopping $300 to do that, but they were very excited. We didn't pull them out of school for the presentation, but they made like a little video, and they had like this whole, if you don't get the funding, what are you going to do? And they said they were going to sit outside our office and play the Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift and cry, and then probably look somewhere else for the funding. But we were able to give them the $300, and I didn't have the heart to tell them we don't really have an office.
Put pressure on you.
Yeah, totally. Pulling a cute Girl Scout card for sure. We were able to give some money to the Brosmer House for their operations. They have a lot of really important recovery meetings there. And they don't have a lot of outside sources of funding. It's primarily donation. We were able to fund to furnish the training apartment that's in Center on Fifth that SWICAC has that allows law enforcement, DCS, other agencies to come in and kind of practice what searching a home looks like. as well as go over, okay, these are some of the clues that you can see that maybe abuse is happening, which Tammy was super excited about. And I'm excited to see who all she gets in there for that, because she was talking about even in the future being able to train like plumbers, electricians, people who traditionally go in others' homes to look for signs of abuse, because how cool would it be if we could have, you know, people who are considered lay people to like child abuse and neglect looking for signs, and how many kiddos we would be able to provide resources to, which was really awesome. We were able to give some funding to the school social worker at Holy Trinity, the Forest Park drug testing program. We were able to purchase drug screens for drug recovery homes, so the women did not have to pay that cost. And then it would also be coordinated, so in case they needed that. We were able to send their therapists to EMDR training, which is a trauma training, which is imperative for the women in the Dove House who have experienced a lot of trauma. We paid for substance abuse education classes, and that is for probation, correct?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Program materials for corrections, drug screens for the Next Step Recovery Home, interactive journals for probation to use with their participants, as well as goal-based incentives. So if they're doing well, rewarding them for that behavior, because as we know, when people are incentivized to behave well, they do, right? Just like me potty training my 10-month-old puppy right now, right? She knows, she'll come to me after she's like, it's treat time, isn't it, right? So that's a really wonderful evidence-based program. And we were able to help bring the Fergus Police Department a little more into the 2000s and got them some Narcan holsters, sharps containers, and some needle-resistant gloves. And then JPD, we were able to purchase some pepper ball guns for them, which is a non-lethal means of getting someone to stop doing whatever nonsense that they are doing. And funding their intoximeter, which if you're not aware, JPD has one of the only designated phone lines. So when they take someone in for a breathalyzer, it makes it court admissible. So we paid for that phone line. And then, okay, that's more corrections. We had to split it up and get a little creative this year. But what I'm coming to ask you for tonight is the $45,252.42 that is in our fund, to draw that down to be able to be divided into those 4 categories. We're gonna do $11,313. 2 of the accounts will have $11,313.11 cents, and 2 will have $11,313.10 cents, just because of the way that ended up being split. The total is $45,252.42.
When I sent you the additional appropriations, we lowered this amount because I had a January collection that we can't use included in here. So the numbers she's giving you are just a little bit lower than what's on here. Jenny and I found that.
But I shared the correct one.
You
right?
shared the correct amounts.
I just happened to come visit Jenny in probation. She put
Yes,
to work. It's
yes.
like, let's call Sandy while you're here. So we got that sorted out.
Yeah,
I didn't even mention, we also this year hired a new coordinator. She was supposed to be here tonight, but she has some sinus respiratory gunk going on and texted me this afternoon. Was like, Jenna, my voice is gone. So that is April Jones. You may know her as half of the Mr. and Mrs. Logan Jones, who works for the Jasper Police Department. She works at WBDC as well. She does like account sales. Yeah. So if you have a business, you may know her from that aspect as well. She's doing a phenomenal job so far. She comes to us with a lot of experience in areas where we were lacking, right? So she's working on a new logo for us because we haven't updated that since I don't know when, but I can tell you I have it somewhere on a disc. So that gives you kind of an idea of how long ago that was, as well as we're looking at potentially renaming because the word abuse is falling out of favor in clinical use. And so we're looking for some other options that are a little more, I don't know if you would say politically correct, maybe less stigmatized is really what we're going for. So working on that too. Ask me questions. I love it.
So, at a federal level, the Department of Health and Human Services, do you guys get money from them? It seems like there would be like copious amounts of money with the Purdue Pharma thing. I know Indiana has that one. I can't think of the acronym. That settlement. Is there any way for you to get more money from the feds since you're doing this kind of work?
Yeah, so currently we only use the funding that we receive from court fines. As far as looking for outside funding, there hasn't been as much of a need in years past because the funds that we used to have were significantly higher. I do think we're moving towards that direction, but we do then probably have to look at hiring someone full-time to manage that grant and making sure that we have the capability to fulfill all the requirements. Because right now, April works 22 hours a month.
Currently, the council's just set up to spend the county's money that is collected through fines.
Potentially, there would be, I mean, I know some of these communities get the federal money, I read about it, so you could possibly get some of that if you had the resources to go after that money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because besides April, we're all volunteer. And before we hired April, I was acting like the paid employee without the paid part. So, a lot of it is volunteer basis, but we're open to that. So, I mean, if you ever know of any opportunities, please send them our way.
Who's April second again?
Logan Jones?
Logan, okay, not the
Yeah,
second.
please. Race is my husband, he works for Burden.
Okay. I was thinking about a different April Jones. So.
Okay. Hey, I mean, nobody asks me to spell it or pronounce it like they did with Beaker, so there's,
There you go.
yeah, right, that makes of me a little incognito, right? Am I from here or from anywhere else? Could be, if been asking Jones. Right? Any other questions from you about anything?
I have it split into two. First, we have the personal services, $11,313.10.
Okay, so.
Like I said, I had it originally advertised for 11,809, but we can't, I didn't realize there was a deposit already in January 3rd.
Sorry, could you repeat that number?
$11,313.10 for personal services,
Okay.
which includes the salary, which I'll do a salary ordinance in a little video.
Okay. So may I have a motion to approve that for additional appropriation?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Alex has made a motion, you have a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
And then the second part is the other services, $33,939.32.
Again, same, I have a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
okay, Doug has made a motion,
I'll second it.
Brian has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
And then I need a salary ordinance to pay April it's $22.50 per hour maximum. I don't think they're paying that right now, but that's the max pay that you've had last year already. This is for 22 hours per month with 6 additional hours to be used during the grant time.
Our grants and our vigil line up, so it's a heavy workload time of year.
So hearing that, we have a motion to approve that salary ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, Ryan has made a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded, so further discussion. Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Well, thank you for
Thank you for having me. And we are currently paying her $21 an hour, just so we have the opportunity for her to build up the 6 month and the year mark. So,
And then that, your meeting on the second Tuesday, what time is that?
11 a.m.
11? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys so much.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Is there a notebook in my drawer? Because I'm gonna have pages here. I know there's one in there for Greg. I'm gonna grab that. Huh?
This is Craig's store right here.
That's Greg's.
Oh, you got one too.
Do I have one? You've got that in Greg's drawer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jenny, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you guys ready for me?
Yes.
All right, Jennifer Lanford, I'm the Chief Probation Officer for DuBois County. Tonight, I'm wearing my JRAC hat though, so I had sent an email out to all of you. Hopefully you got it. I think Alex, yours bounced back to me, but I wasn't sure if it's still came through. Did you get an email from me with all this information in it?
Probably not.
Okay, all right. I'll talk a little bit about it. I think most of you are aware, we're pretty proud that our JRAC committee applied for 3 different grants this year. We got 2 of the big ones, and I'm pretty proud that we got this federal grant, $549,333, the Justice and Mental Health Federal Grant from the Bureau of Justice. We were only one of 32 nationwide that got this grant, so I think that says a lot for Dukes County and what we're doing, the work that we're trying to do anyway. So with this grant, it's fully funding for 3 years. The social worker deputy at the jail that you were talking about earlier, a full-time peer recovery specialist at community corrections and probation, and residential treatment beds at the New Hope Treatment Center that is going to open in hopefully the end of March this year. So along with that grant, they do have a requirement that we have to have a part-time project manager for this grant. So that's what I'm here today to ask you for. The funding is built into this grant for that, $25,000 for 3 years to pay this part-time project manager. I went to the commissioners on January 16th. They unanimously voted to approve it. I sent out a copy of the job description, and I have more here if anybody would like that. Do you want a copy of it? I worked with Marky and Chad Blessinger on this, and then the commissioners also approved it. It would be a PAC 4 salary range of $22.96 to $29.51. As a JRAC council, we would look at applicants that we do get once we advertise and then base the pay on their experience would be my opinion for that. So tonight, I guess I'm asking you to approve a salary ordinance for that. Sandy did create that. We worked together on that, I think last week or the week before. So I foresee this part-time project manager, specifically she has to work, she or he or whoever it ends up being would have to work for this grant. But we also have several other grants, and it's getting very difficult to manage all these grants. Sandy can attest to that. We've had several sessions together where we're ready to pull our hair out because of the requirements that go along with these grants. Grants are great, the money's great, it just takes a lot to manage them and a lot to look for new grants to fulfill when the grant runs out. That is my hope for this person when we get somebody on board to be able to do all that work for us, to help us with that. We don't have a place for this person to go. I don't have an office space, I don't have an area. I foresee this person working with us, working with community corrections, working with the judge, the prosecutor, the sheriff, wherever they need to be so they can move around or they could do some of the work from home. So we have to find somebody that we can trust and they can work independently.
Is that office downstairs still available that Ryland used to be in Model?
Well, it's got storage stuff in it now, but yes.
Yeah, it could be cleared out. And we're gonna have a nice open office in the basement, right?
Yeah.
It'll be a new storage unit for the county. That's what I'm hearing.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
We don't want that.
Sandy, how do benefits get,
Everything's coming from this grant.
all of that?
Everything's coming out of this grant. The grant funded it all, so really, we have the grant.
Right.
All we need is your approval to pay this person, so that's what we're coming for an amended salary ordinance.
What are you expecting to pay them then?
It depends on experience. It could fall anywhere in that range. I've had a couple people interested in the position. A couple of them have a lot of grant experience, and I would love to have them if they're willing to take the job on part-time. And so I would hope to pay them at the upper end. If we get somebody in brand new that doesn't have any experience that we have to train, they would be at the mid or lower range, would be my thought on that. The board would have to, the JRAC team would have to look at that meeting.
So the they set it as PAC 4, so that's between $22.96 and $29.51. So the salary ordinance, I said the maximum is $29.50.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
So just doing some calculations in our head, we determined that we could hire a person to work for 17 hours at a max of $28. So then we could play on that either way. So if we have them work 10 hours, then they could be at the higher end. If we have them work 29 hours, obviously they could make $28. So it's gonna have to be fluid depending on the grant and what the requirements are. Like this month, we had a lot of things due by tomorrow, by the 30th that we worked on and got completed. The next major thing due with this grant would be April 30th, unless the budget comes through, and then we'll have to start rolling with hiring people and getting the money and throwing down. So it's just gonna have to be fluid. Some weeks it might be 0 hours, some weeks it might be 29.
You said you had some people that you would like. What type of person is that? Someone far along in their career that wants to devote and give time, or a newbie that's just wanting to get into their foot in the door?
The 2 people that have expressed interest are are farther along in their careers. One has worked for the county in the past, the other one has worked like in the school system, and then the other one, there's a third one actually that doesn't have as much grant experience that reached out. She worked in another county position.
You said $17 for how many max hours?
28.
28.
That's 17 hours, she said.
Right. And then any variation.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
So not to exceed the 29 hours in 1 week and not to exceed, it would fall in the salary range. It just depends on what kind of experience they have. And so I don't know if you guys remember a couple of years ago, we did get another JRAC grant, and in that we had where we could have a full-time project manager, and we could not find anyone to take it even for the amount that we had. So I still have my fingers crossed that these people that have expressed interest are serious about it and want to work part-time and want to have some of the flexibility that will go along with this position being part-time to make it look good for them so that they do apply.
And you mentioned work from home or whatever. Do we have anybody in the county that works under that type of situation?
I don't think so, not right now.
So that would be, I guess, as you're developing this, that would be, I'm sorry, this is not here, in conjunction with the commissioners.
Right. We did talk about that at the commissioners meeting. That's
Okay.
where we have to
Well, I
look.
guess we do, April. She doesn't work under our roof.
Yeah, she works 100%, I guess. Not
So we
necessarily
kind of do in a
mostly
way,
from the Jasper Public Library, but
Right.
yes, also from home.
but we don't have her in-house anywhere.
Well, I was just curious.
But it's a specialty
Because
kind
there's
of
no office.
position. It's not really,
Okay.
Which is good, because otherwise those Girl Scouts could attract staff.
Yeah. Or found you in your house or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And this person will work for the JRAC board, report to the JRAC board, which is the judges, prosecutors, sheriff, probation, LifeSpring. So there'll be a lot of oversight there. It's just now, hopefully we find the right person.
So any other questions for any otherwise,
I got a comment. I was a part of the, JRAC with you, and obviously you spearheaded this, did your due diligence, and I think you went about getting the grant the right way. Maybe, I know we're gonna kind of standardize how we do that, but maybe you can help some of these other departments when they go for this, because, hey, that was a process. And you were there every step of the way. It seemed like with that third party helping us, due diligence was performed, it was done right, and that's why you were able to land this. I appreciate you doing that and putting the work in for this.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And as I was sitting back here tonight listening, absolutely, those services will be offered. I know, Meredith, you said something about Region 15 that helps grant, right? The individual companies, so we have another JRAC grant that we use to pay this community solutions that we got 3 years ago that we're on the tail end of. And so we partnered with Community Solutions out of Indianapolis, and they're familiar with this Bureau of Justice because it is a lot. It truly is a lot to get these grants and then to follow through with what is required for this grant. Out of all the grants I've done, I think this is probably one of the hardest ones. Would you agree, Sandy? I mean,
these federal ones always are.
it takes a lot to do one thing. I feel like it takes 7 tries until you get it. I don't know, I can't explain. I mean, just even signing up to put me as a grant administrator took Sandy a little while to get done. So partnering with Community Solutions is their name, and we still have money in that other JRAC grant to pay for them, maybe to help with this other grant if the sheriff is willing to work with them.
oh, that's great.
Yeah, and I will definitely offer that to him.
Okay.
He is part of the JRAC board.
Any other comments or discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that salary ordinance.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Meredith has made the motion. You have a second?
I'll second.
Sonia has seconded. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thanks.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to having some help, and I know Sandy is too, so.
Stuart, I guess we're a little bit behind.
You're fine.
Maybe that's good.
I don't mind.
We got educated tonight.
It's important information. I'm Stuart Wilson. I'm a 911 director for Du Bois County, and here about 2 different items, and some of the first section doesn't include EMA. That's a whole separate thing. We'll talk about sirens here in a minute. there's some encumbrances that I covered in an email, and I think my requests were somewhat incomplete. I think a couple of them, I didn't have the fund line
That's okay. I'll
items.
cover encumbrances. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay, perfect. So the most important thing that I need to talk about is overtime funding for 911 to fund my existing staff. We have a scheduling shortfall because of being short-staffed that continues. It actually started in 2019. It hopefully peaked last summer. We are better than we were in August. I'm happy to report. We don't have a 911 director and an assistant director working 12-hour shifts. We are actually working more of our administrative schedule, which is a big benefit to us. But what we're doing is we still have some employees working more than 40 hours a week, so we have to pay them overtime. We're bound to do that under federal guidelines. We are not exempt employees like some other positions in public safety, which I know some people find unusual, but that is what the federal government has determined. Markey has confirmed that information, and I've reached out to him. So when we have an employee that works more than 40 hours a week, we have to compensate them a time and a half. We can give them compensatory time that we cannot allow them to take because I don't have enough people to allow them to take that time off. So what that does is it shifts it to another day where I have to have an employee come in and work overtime. And the county actually loses out by having to do that twice. Each hour that we work, not only are we paying it a time and a half, we're paying it time and a half to cover that time and a half. So it's just a whole mess. And what I need is I need money to pay the comp time down that we have on the books and to not have any employees accumulate comp time for the duration of the year. Maybe next year is a different year and we can do things different. But knowing that best case scenario, we'll be out of this overtime situation in June or so of this year. But that's if nobody quits. We had an employee that left us about 2 weeks ago, just in the middle of a shift. She decided it wasn't for her anymore, and she quietly packed up her locker and walked out. So it's unfortunate. We have a new hire starting February 12th. I'm hopeful for her. She works in the 911 center in the adjoining county right now. We're going to run an ad starting next week, and we're going to start all over with our hiring processes again and keep plugging along. I mean, we're doing okay. Knowing that we're better than we were, but the reality is, I need to get the dollars to compensate our people for the hours that they're putting in. I don't have a lot of complaints about the overtime. We don't give them a lot of wiggle room on it. I wouldn't call it. I cringe at the thought of the term mandatory overtime, but it is mandatory overtime. There's no way to pretty it up. I'm not going to put a pretty face on a mandatory overtime. But today, for example, is a good example of an overtime day. Kim is out of town. She's on a very important family situation. She's up in Indianapolis celebrating with some family, and she had to be off today. So somebody has to fill her spot. And that person that's in there filling the spot, they're working overtime. We just don't have another way to do it that's where it's sustainable. This is 1222 funds, which is our state surcharge monies. It's not county general fund. I would caution that, and I know Doug and I had a long talk about 1222 funds after our advisory board meeting in January. And that fund has gone in the red every single year since, I think, about 2016. We will have to address that at some point. I'm not sure how we're going to address it. Doug and I hope, with him being our advisory board representative, hopefully he and I can kind of make a plan on how we can stop that from continually occurring. But I don't have an answer for that today, but what I do know I need today is I need money to pay our employees that are working.
Can I just at least touch on the
Sure.
911 fund? Has that ever been increased?
It has not.
Nope.
Its inception in 2012
And that's
is where it's been.
That's the main problem that we're having.
I think that's part of the problem. Now, I did address that with state board representatives because we have a lot of contact with them. They're a good resource for us and a big benefit to us in some aspects. However, that money has been static. When I asked them about an increase, and I felt like it was an issue that the fund that is 12 years old has never increased. I thought that was pretty obviously that's not sustainable. It's 12 years worth of increases, 12 years worth of inflation, 12 years worth of everything will be more expensive. And the answer was that they are not pursuing that being increased or raised. There is statutory abilities for them to raise that very small amounts, but when you do 10 cents across the board for every phone in Indiana is a huge amount of money. So it could increase, but they are not pursuing that right now. They felt like it was the equivalent of a tax increase, and they were not interested in supporting a tax increase. In addition to that, I don't want to harp on this. I know the sheriff has given his opinions pretty strongly, but with us not having a public safety tax or some sort of local tax that supports 911 directly, that is the solution that they give us. If we're choosing to not exercise that solution, they're not going to feel sorry for us. And I don't mean to be disrespectful with that, but that's the information that I'm given is a lot of counties choose to exercise that ability to do that. And those are solutions that can help fund a 911 center. So it's hard for me
they're not willing to tax the people, but they expect us to tax the people.
You're right. Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, taxes are taxes.
Right, they're shoving it down on us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're forcing it upon the local level.
Seems like, like you say, you spread a dime all over creation there, you get a lot of money. When you're putting it all on the county level, then I don't know if that's fair, but I think we're gonna have a county council meeting here on Wednesday. I think that's something we ought to bring up, because they brought it up 2 years ago. I thought they were pushing for it, but I guess.
I thought they were too. I
guess.
think. I think I received bad information that they were pushing for it. I was told that they were going to be making some lobbying efforts for it 2 years ago, and then I think the state board, they've changed their opinion on what their focus is. I can't really.
I think we'll try to push it on our end, at least get some information on it, because I think that's a better way to do it. But that people would use it, the phones, pay for them. So.
How many people are you short? 3?
3 as of today. Will be short 2 once our newest person starts.
Do we need to come up with a different plan? Or, I know this has been an ongoing thing for, for a good 13, 12 months since I've been around.
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with the plan we're doing, or do you need additional help in some way, shape, or form, or?
I think we're on the best course that we can be on. And our situation here, believe it or not, we are more fortunate than a lot of our neighbors because we pay better and our retention rates are higher. Our average retention rate, I haven't calculated it lately, it's around 6 years is our duration for employees. So we're exceeding the national average, which is always a good thing. 6 years is terrible because in 2019, it was 16 years. And that's why this is such a big deal, because we've lost 10 years worth of longevity in a 5-year period. So what has happened is what was occurring nationwide caught up with us. And here we are. I feel comfortable that our pay amounts are fair pay amounts. We don't lose people because they're not making enough money. We lose people because they don't want to work nights and weekends and holidays. And there's no way for us to close the doors. That's just not the nature of the work. And the schedule continues to be the worst thing. Nobody wants to work weekends and nights and holidays. I don't either. I get it. I've done it for 26 years. I understand why it's a hardship.
Is everybody who's a part of the department now, when you make the schedule, like anybody could be put on any one of those days, right?
They could be. They typically stay the same.
I'm only asking because I didn't know. Is that something you could ever consider? If there was like weekend option only, maybe the pay is different because of that. I'm looking at from the hospital, lens,
Right,
I guess, and that sometimes is attractive to some people, maybe with young kids, because then they have another spouse that's home. I don't know if that helps. But.
We're about a total staff number of probably 3 to 4 short from being able to accomplish that successfully.
So you couldn't even get to that
Not
point
on 17 people. If we were staffed at around 22 or 23 operationally, I don't know, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, I think that's a viable option. There are some centers where it happens, but what happens is, so if we staff it at minimum staffing, when that person needs to take PTO, because they're gonna take PTO, you know, they get 200 hours a year or whatever it is, and they're gonna take some time off, then who fills it? The person that you've just told won't have to work weekends anymore, because that's the only people left when you're working at minimum staffing. So that's why it doesn't work at 17. You know, I think it could work at 22-ish, but I don't know, we're pretty far from that. I mean, I'd be surprised if I would see that level of staffing during the duration of my career, unless there would be substantial changes about overall operations between the city and us. That could change it, but I don't think they're closing the doors anytime soon. So we're gonna have to keep going along the way we're going.
Okay, any other discussion, otherwise, we'll just have a show of hands, I guess the additional $4,000 for overtime, so all in favor, say aye, or have your hand up, so I think everybody's in favor of it, so thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for explaining it to us.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Tammy, sorry, I'm a little late here.
Yeah, that's all right. My husband has to cook supper tonight. I don't care. Means I don't have to.
Mine too.
I love that. That doesn't happen very often. Here's a copy of what I'm stirring and ironing and talking about. Oops, sorry. Here you go. Wait, you're stirred, 'cause he's a big part of this.
I'm sure.
This looks complicated.
It's very complicated. That's why Stuart needs to be over here too.
Here, that's what
You need me, sorry, EMA director. My partner in some of what we do.
Yeah, so I'm here with Stuart to make a request for, as you can see, $41,292. And what that is for, our sirens currently, the 22 county sirens, run off of, or dispatch off of the fire frequency, 154.130. And that is our busiest frequency in the county. And there are times when the sirens don't activate. And the reason for that is it's just too much going on. So over the years that I've been doing the sirens, and it's been a very long time, we ultimately always have something that doesn't work. So we work on it, we have somebody come look at it, there's nothing wrong with the siren, it's because there's foliage on the trees, or there's just so many reasons that it's not working. And basically what it comes to in a nutshell is that the sirens are getting way too much power. They don't need all this power. They don't need to go through the simplex system that we currently have on the 154.130. So what I finally got accomplished was I got a frequency for our sirens, its own frequency. We went through the FCC, we got the frequency. Stuart and I talked about this 2 years ago, I believe, when we started the process, and we finally have it. Federal Field Services is who we contract with to do all the programming on all of our sirens, because we have federal sirens. So they do a great job. And for years, they have recommended that we go to a simplex frequency. Well, now I've got that accomplished. So phase 1 is ready. But what the problem is, dispatch center has to be able to activate that. And they have to have the equipment that works for that to sound. And that's where this quote comes in. And he worked with his vendor to get this quote so that we can present it to you. Because without this, we can't do it. And I'll be honest with you, if we can't do this now, I'm going to be, it's my last ditch effort to get these sirens to continuously work. It is a problem, and whether we like it or not, people are really dependent upon the sirens. Even though I have preached for 30 years that the sirens are for outdoor use only, that's what they're for. But they really, I can't see us ever taking them away, in other words. I mean, it's public safety, it's part of what they want, and we have to support what the communities want. And we really need, I mean, I just can't stress enough, we really need to do this. Because then we will know, Stuart and I will know if this really was the problem. And if it wasn't the problem, then we'll come back and we'll
Yeah.
talk about something else. We don't, at this point, we need to do this to move forward, to make sure that we're doing everything we can.
I'll talk a little bit about the quote, because if you're looking down through this equipment,
It's very
it reads like a foreign language.
Yes.
Okay, and I expect that and I understand that, and I'll try to simplify a lot of what our plan is. So today, as we're standing here talking, we page on the same channel that the fire frequency is on. So every fireman out there that's wearing that pager on their belt, they get this from a frequency that's numbered 154.130, 154.130. And that frequency is a simulcast system that's broadcast over all the towers in the county. It's a pretty high-tech system from 2016 that we still use and operate on it every single day. And it works great, but like Tammy said, it's just really busy. So we're gonna go to a single point paging system. When we get the new center built and we start operation there, there'll be one transmitter, one radio transmitting off one tower site that's gonna activate all of these sirens. It's gonna totally take it off of the simulcast or multiple tower network. That simplification of the process should be a big benefit. If that alone were what we would have to do, it's a way less expensive situation. But what we have to also consider is we need a backup to us, which is this ability for the city of Jasper to be able to sound the county's tornado sirens. The communication link between the two centers is what a large amount of this cost is, but we have to have a backup, just like they have to have a backup. We all have to have backups to what we do. If we didn't have a backup to this plan, we might as well forget it. There's no way in the world I would ever move forward without a plan that says that if we are out of commission, we don't have another way to sound the siren. I know it's a really expensive solution. The gist of it is, it's that transmitter. There's microwave antennas that are going to be on the tower site that's at the jail. A microwave antenna on the roof of the Jasper City Police Department, and all the ancillary equipment for both radio consoles at both centers. So we can, through this microwave network, get in and work their stuff, and they, through this microwave network, can get in and work our stuff. And that gives us really, really reliable backups at a cost of $41,000. So,
And that's why we waited until right now when we're ready to move into, we're close, we're very close to the move. And this is the time we need to do it. It's either we're gonna do it or, because if we don't do it now, then I don't even know what the cost would be to add something down the road.
and this was sold, the idea of this was sold to me as the lowest cost option for what we're trying to accomplish. There are other ways to accomplish this that could cost more, and it's buying duplicate equipment at both places, and it's just not as cost effective. It's one vendor that we use for a lot of other things. He can program those consoles. It is a large amount of money, and I believe it is a single point bidder situation because we can't have multiple radio console. Zetron is the brand name. We can't have two different companies working on a Zetron system.
So it's Charlie, and he works on everything else.
He does. He
This-
doesn't actually do a lot of the sirens though. I think he only.
No, I deal with
The
federal
sirens
field
themselves
services
is
for the
different.
sirens.
Is this new frequency, I've talked to both of you about this weekly, firemen calling me about they're not getting calls. Is this gonna alleviate it since you?
It won't make any difference on that part of it.
No.
No, it's just gonna ensure that the sirens in the county will go off because they're not in that busyness.
And they're unaffected by overlap, which is what your firemen that are talking to you are hearing.
Okay.
That's part of that simulcast that goes to these different.
So,
I'm waiting on quotes for some equipment purchases that is likely to solve
noise filter.
digitalization of some of our processes that allows for more accurate timing and more accurate GPS location to sort out the timing for that. It's kind of a complex thing, and I'm waiting for a price. I think it's coming. I just don't have a time yet. I don't want to make promises to the public that, hey, we're going to have fire frequency better by this date when I don't know that. There's a plan. We just we're too early on having it enacted. I know my firemen are impatient. I know they're irritated. I know. I hear from them too.
Yeah. And Charlie, I think, on the other end, on the quote, he seems to know his stuff, and he's never, I didn't think, dipped in the well too much. He seems to be pretty fair on his pricing.
I mean, we have spent the county as a whole with this big project. Mike knows, he's seen the invoices. We have spent a lot of dollars with them. I think he has repaid that by being fair in his quoting. I have never, since April of 2021, when I took over, I've never doubted anything that he has told me. I think he's a very trusted vendor. As we're standing here today, that could always change tomorrow. But I mean, I trust but verify with him. I would say that's what I've done. And I do talk to a lot of other people. Tammy has a lot of communications. We do talk to other radio vendors. We talk to other counties. I think we're in good standing where we're at. We're fortunate to have him right in our backyard too.
I mean, was the FCC kind of hard to deal with? It seemed like that'd be kind of a big task to get that.
Well, I didn't do it. I had my radio guy take care of that. But it really didn't take very long. We ended up with 3 frequencies to choose from, and we monitored and listened to what would work the best. And I think the frequency that we chose, including in working with his radio vendor, Charlie, that I think that we've settled on the right one. So it's a long process. It took many, many, many months to get those frequencies, but now we have them, and they're all on my license under public safety, so we're good.
We tried, the first step, we tried to monitor some existing frequencies that are unused or very underused locally that we were already licensed for, and they were immediately ruled out.
Yeah, too busy.
Right off the bat, we knew they were way too busy, and there was way too much interference from departments in Kentucky. That I don't know why the radio waves do what they do. I'm not an expert on that, but
I do feel like this is something really important that we need to do as a county. I've been doing this a long time, and for 30 years, so the sirens have always been, it's always been hit or miss with them. And I'm not 100% sure this is going to work, but I've been guaranteed by the experts in this field that going to Simplex is really going to help, and it's going to make a difference. And I really, really, really want to try to.
Tammy and I started working on this project in probably August of 2021.
Yeah, it's been going on.
We put together a little committee of members. It was some fire chiefs that were having problems of the affected sirens. And I will say, as much as I don't think that they're, I hate that the public has in their head that they can rely on them the way that they do. But if we're going to have them, they've got to work.
Absolutely.
We can't have that piece of emergency notification equipment out there and have it not work.
Who pushes the button for the phones to beep?
That comes from our office. We are under a mass notification. It's called Brave, and that comes through our office. It's a very small notification system. It's not the big one. I would love to see that in the county, but that's very, very costly. But it's just a very small, so that we can get the critical people notified of what's happening in the county for tornado warnings. That's what that one is for.
You might be talking about the National Weather Service.
Maybe I am. I don't ever hear an alarm or a siren, I hear my phone.
Yeah, so it must be an app you have on, or if there's a tornado warning and you're on a list. I don't know. Do you know, is Ryan Craig on our list? I don't know.
Probably not.
I don't think so. So you probably get yours just because you're one of those citizens that has the app that's on your phone.
Yeah.
There are multiple apps out there that everyone in this community could get the notifications at the exact same time that we get it. It's just,
Do people know about those?
we advertise and we talk about it all the time.
No, but
so.
they do
I think so
default
great.
as.
Push that out.
TV stations used to do those.
Yeah, they still
and
do.
now they
Yeah.
default that is the default setting, that it's going to work, even though you didn't try for it to work, it's going to work. So when you geographically, when your phone enters that warned area, it's going to alert. Or if you're in that, when the alert is issued, it's going to go off.
To me, I understand what you're saying on everything. That's of more value than.
Absolutely.
I agree.
It is.
100%.
Is that $1 million?
If there were no leaves on the trees, I can see the siren from my house. That siren is never going to wake me up when I'm sleeping.
Exactly. And that
So,
was
you know,
never
when you
intended
think
for
about
that anyway.
You got to do other things. You got to have your weather radio. Go see Tammy's office. Her and Marissa can do a great job.
Well, that's my only counter to anything is it worth looking at what an app costs before we throw 48,000 or whatever to maybe fix this when we know.
The problem that you're gonna run into
But
with that.
you got other citizens that rely on that, and they won't
Well,
go to
You
the
can't,
app.
I just can't
You
imagine.
can't get the whole county to go to an app.
Yeah, it's gonna be very
People are
difficult
still
to
gonna
persuade
rely on it.
some of the people to do that and rely on that.
We have shopped to notifications, and we were talking to a vendor a year and a half ago. They're all subscription based.
And everybody.
So it's X amount of dollars, but it's X amount of dollars every year.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be more the next year, and more the next year, and more the next year. And Siren, Tammy's done an incredible job of very frugally running and managing the Siren network. We are doing it, what I would say is pretty bare bones compared to other options that are available out there. There's storm sirens out there that cost $200,000 per siren. I mean, so when I hear those numbers and I know what Tammy's budget is for sirens, boy, we're doing really good here. She's done a
And right
really good
now, all
job.
22 of them are working. So, we're gonna keep
Well, you
that
know, you
up.
think
I
about
know,
that
right
financing when it
there,
goes
yeah,
down,
right there.
because those are the numbers that are gonna be called with the accidents and the wrecks. And
Sure.
So, you know, it all makes sense.
That's my begging and pleading for the evening.
I guess we would have a show of hands to advertise it, and I would recommend maybe the edit fund instead of, you know.
I think that's where your sirens are out. Are they at Gold 34 right now? I think they
Yes,
are.
I
I think
believe
that is
so,
where
yeah.
we have them.
This quote's 11 days old. Do you think it's still good?
I don't know, I mean, that's a very good question. And he spelled my name wrong too, I gotta work on that.
He did.
Yeah.
I think with the hundreds of thousands of dollars we're spending moving that center and all the equipment, I think this is, I agree with this, you know, this is the time to do it.
That's why we wanted to
Let's
get
hope
here
it
now with the moving.
Well, I think
getting
it's the right
closer.
move. I mean, you've done your research and talked to so many people that, I mean, this is the only logical
We've known it's been a
route
while.
to take. So
Tammy
I trust
was-
Tammy on what she suggests.
Tammy's done a great job here. So she got me, her, 2 radio vendors and Federal Field Services. We all sat down, we all kind of hashed out a plan together. And it was just a really good partnership with everybody, which makes me proud of what we're doing here. And really, it's something that didn't always exist here. The strong partnership and the ability to work together is going to lead to a really good solution here that she's shopping for. So,
Are we the city's backup?
yes.
Yes,
So do they inquire any costs on this, or do they have anything, or it's just kind of a perk because we're doing it?
The last part. It's a perk because we're doing it. They could have some gain from it. It remains to be seen. I actually was talking with their communications chief today about that. I said, well, hey, we're gonna be talking about your department tonight, putting equipment on your building that you don't even know about. So at some point, we're gonna have to sit down and talk about how it's gonna work out. But we need to step in the right direction here to benefit us and the work that we do in our center and the county. Maybe there could be some other benefits to the city down the road. I don't know. I'm not gonna hold my breath. They don't get surcharge dollars and we do, and that's often.
Okay, so, let's have a show of hands here, who's all in favor of 41,000?
thank you guys so much for the support though, honestly, this is just something we really do need to do, so.
Well,
Thank you,
anytime you
thank you.
talk computers, you always want duplication of services.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Do we need to return on next month?
we'll
to do
advertise
anything?
it, we can present it.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, you guys have a great evening.
Unless something drastically changes.
Yes.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marissa, too.
Okay,
And then there was one.
Thanks.
He's the reporter.
I'm trying to take all this in.
Next to one of those.
They want to report.
do you want to continue on and then we'll jump back to the things we missed, or do you want to go back to what we missed?
Let's go back to what we missed.
Yeah.
That's okay with you? Does that make it hard?
I mean, no, I can write it however you want it.
And then let's,
We did miss the reduction. Do you want the appropriation reduction ordinance to get rid of those 2 line items?
so I think everybody knows what that is, so anybody want to make a motion to that?
You want to wait for Alex to come back?
I'm sorry. Didn't see it slip up.
we're just gonna reduce two line items, $60,394 each one. We created two new line items for those cops, and now we're gonna,
1,528 to 1,599.
yes, we're gonna go in and make those line items zero.
Alex, we were gonna start on that reduction on this, on the budget for the tuition.
So you're gonna reduce the general fund by $120,788 in the sheriff's grant deputies, personal services.
Does anyone want to make a motion, any discussion, I guess, first? I think we hashed it out already a little bit.
I'll make a motion.
Ryan has made a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Meredith has seconded it. Further discussion on it? Otherwise, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?
Okay, that's that one. In the general fund, last year, or previous years, Amy has taken in $1,386.37 on the Safe Schools Fund, which is used by the school corporations for bus cameras. What we'll do every year from now on is at the end of the year, Amy will give you a number, and every January we'll disperse any money that we have to the schools. That goes to the 4 different schools, so we'll split it.
We're gonna split it equally then?
That's up to you, but I thought that was what the thought was, was to split it between the 4.
Didn't last year, didn't Beth send it all to one school? Or,
Well, previously, we sent it all to Northeast Du Bois, who dispersed it. He acted on all behalf of all of us.
okay.
But I don't think some of the schools used it, or they had grants, I don't remember all the details, but our intent is to split it. But we'll put it in her budget and then we'll write it out.
Distribute it, I think.
Okay.
Do we all agree that it should be split equally?
I agree.
I agree.
I mean, you're
When
talking
you say equally.
$1,386 divided by 4 isn't very much.
Divide by 4, you're not doing it on a student basis.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I mean,
That would have been my question, but looking at the amount, again, it's not a great
It's not
deal, so
much.
I don't know that it's worth
Gonna
going through a great deal of.
Yeah, not probably for
It may take us 4 or 5 years. This was more than 1 year's worth of stuff.
Mhm.
So it may take us several years to give them even enough to buy a camera.
See, we were thinking when we passed that would be a higher amount. Well, then the state takes it, don't they? You know, we don't
They get some of the money she collects.
You know, so it doesn't,
They get, isn't it like 3/4 of it or something goes to the state, I believe?
I thought it was quite a bit.
It's, yes.
That's why it's not building very fast. Okay, so that's.
Oh, and I would think the schools
So-
are also enforcing to the fullest.
Yeah.
The schools aren't enforcing to the fullest of what they could.
So I guess we need to have a motion to approve that.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, Ryan has made a motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The next is in the prosecutor forfeiture fund. Last year, you guys gave Beth enough money to buy a water fountain, but we were short, so she's asking for $500 to complete that installation on the water fountain. It's a drinking bottle water fountain back here.
How much was it?
It was a couple $1,000s.
So she's asking for it to be transferred out?
She's asking for an additional appropriation of $500 out of this prosecutor forfeiture fund to pay the remaining balance on.
So she's paying for
She's
it
paying.
directly, I guess.
I mean, I'll make that
Yes.
motion.
Ryan has made a motion, and I have a second.
Second.
Alex seconded. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
did these. Okay, the next thing I guess. Got it? The next thing I have is the Cume Cap. The highway department is requesting $75,000 for 2 highway boom mowers. I think he's talked about this previously last year.
We did.
Any further discussion or any discussion at all on that?
A little bit, they hit a few of my fence posts, but I talked to them, so it's okay. It's a new operator and I'm not mad at him, but, Jim Ring was the king and Mr. Schmidt, Wayne Schmidt, so.
Is that why we're buying?
I don't know, if the gear boxes got jarred or what? I don't know.
No, there was something last year about he had them and then I can't even remember. He talked to the commissioners about it. I thought he told you guys about it too, that they had to put them on hold or they couldn't get them right away last year, so now.
They got pushed back. We discussed these, I think we discussed it with Deb.
Okay, we need any more discussion? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 75. Doug made a motion, Alex seconded. So, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed?
I had originally advertised to do body cameras for the community corrections for the amount of $5,000, but today, he told me that they're gonna pull that. They're not gonna move forward because the contract is only for the remainder of this year, and he didn't believe it was worth $4,000. He thought it was for a longer term, so I pulled that one, so. We did the drug-free. The last thing I have is for the public health crisis response grant. We changed that last December from being the clerk to being a nurse. You guys did the appropriation or the ordinance for that, the salary ordinance. But right now they're requesting $27,628 in that grant to make it from the clerk's pay to the nurse's pay. They're gonna increase the nurse's pay $12,628 and then $10,000 in FICA and $5,000 in PERF to increase those benefits as well. So it's grant dollars.
Okay, so any discussion on that? Okay, so
Make a motion to approve.
Ryan has made a motion, and I have a second.
I'll second.
Meredith, second. Further discussion? Ryan and Meredith. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So that's all the additionals.
That's, I think, all the additionals, yes. I have a resolution to transfer funds to the park non-reverting fund. I think I sent you guys an email telling, normally we transfer over in December. It was overlooked and they need this money transferred from the park operating to the park non-reverting to continue on with the next phase of their park renovations, improvements out there. What I'd like to do is, since we didn't spend it in December, I'd like you to encumber it into 2024 and then for us to transfer it over to the non-reverting fund, $75,000. And this year, you have it in the budget for them to do the 225, which we will do in December.
I just want to make a couple comments. They did take bids at the last commissioner meeting, and they had 3 bids on this improvements, and a lot of it is, zip lines. They're going to have a splash pad, and then they had some alternate bids of benches and a wood deck and slide, stainless steel slide. So the low bid was they ranged from Seifert Construction was low $288,400, and the high bid was a company out there to Danco, 650,000, so there's a big spread in there. But they were, they were looking for, less than 450, they were hoping to get into that, so they will have money to do some alternate bids. I think they're gonna have a meeting, possibly Wednesday, I think, morning, and then go in front of the commissioners to get approval to sign the contract, so.
Now, I did tell Christine, she only budgeted in the non-reverting 225,000. So if they wanna go over that amount, they have 225,000 in their fund, they have 225,000 in the grant. If they wanna go over those amounts, they have to come back for an additional appropriation, because they don't have any more to spend. I mean, they have cash, they don't have,
Even with this 75,000.
well, this will get them closer, but they need that 225 to totally fund this project, which it will. But you guys have to give them appropriation to go over that amount.
And she's aware of that.
Well, I told her.
You wrote an email there, but, I think there's a little misunderstanding. She thinks she's got a CD there that she can cash in.
Well, it don't matter, she can have $1 million in the bank. If you guys don't give her the appropriation, she can't spend it.
Okay, so makes sense. Okay, that's all. Any questions
So
on that otherwise?
We could be coming back next month with more money for her to do some of these alternates.
And she's really not, they're not allowed to have a contract until the money's on the table. And,
Wow.
and she may have to hold off on one of these alternates.
So that's why I kind of
and just-
cautioned them, they only have the 450 or whatever it is
Yeah.
total right now.
Which they're gonna go over, because they already owe, Grossman and Hafer 35,000. But this is just a bit.
Sure.
But this was a little bit, this is what they're thinking about doing, I think, but they. So, we better warn the commissioners that too, then.
Well,
Just so we don't, they can come back and do it, but I'm just saying. Or they can hold off and ask the contractor to hold, that they want to accept this thing, so when the funds available. Okay, so I guess that resolution to transfer the funds, and I have any more discussion on that. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that transfer. For the transfer fund to the non-reverting fund.
I'll make a motion to transfer the 75.
I'll second.
Okay, so Ryan and Doug. Further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
The next thing I have on the agenda is the Du Bois County appointment to the museum.
We put a bunch of names out there, and I've given them to the person that's in charge of the museum retention board, and they came up, and they, I don't know if anyone knows Gene well, lives over Ferdinand, but they wanted someone possibly to that part of the county. And Gene owned his own construction company with another person quite a few years, and then he went on his own and building homes and developing homes. So he's got a lot of experience. So I think he's a valued asset to the museum as far as building projects in there, displays in there. They're really happy he was. So I would highly recommend his appointment for the board here. So anyone want to make a little, anybody got discussions or?
Are any of the Lindar farms on that board?
They used to be, I think, what's his name, Mike?
Mike.
He was on there for a while, but then I don't know, he got off.
Okay, I figured they would have been with the amount of stuff they're building, so I just curious.
Yeah, Vic, I was working with Vic Betts to try to find something, because he's in charge of that part of it. And he might be, assistant director out there, or whatever you call it, president. So I think it would be It's a good person, so. And, you know, the board is getting older out there, you know, the people that, you know, Mary Ann Hayes, you know, she's retired, and I think, so
Cheryl Summerson.
yeah, Cheryl. I mean, they both want to, I think Cheryl's gonna stay involved, but Mary Ann's not gonna stay involved, I don't think, or, you know, at least physically. So,
Do you need a motion?
yes, I need a motion
I'll
to,
be happy to make the motion for Gene.
okay.
I'll second.
Any other discussion, further discussion, otherwise, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
His term will run until December 31st, 2026.
Good appointment, I think.
And we'll retro it till January 1st. Yours is legal size, but I laid on your desk there the list of encumbrances that we'll be bringing from the 23 budget into the 24 budget. We make sure they have the money in the line item. We make sure that what they're bringing forward was ordered or contracted in 23 and not paid for yet, so that's all been checked on the left side. And then on the right side is the grants that run over calendar years, so we have to encumber those. I don't know if you had any questions.
I looked it over, I know, do we have to approve this as a board?
I'm just presenting it to you.
Information. Okay, thank you.
If you have any questions or anything you don't want us to encumber, we can do that, but
I honestly didn't see anything. Those Lucas devices, did they ever, they never did come, or?
I guess maybe they're waiting for me to go pick them up.
actually, I think we got an invoice for them, so it's in the process.
Okay, so they received that. And do you, I'm not asking you all these technical, the chiller up here, is that being,
I thought they closed the road today to go up there, did they not?
so they,
I don't know. I
It was
didn't
on
look
the
out
radio
today.
sometime this week, Jackson's getting close, they could
Yeah.
lock and park a boom truck over there.
yeah, crane,
Yes, lifted on last night.
okay, makes sense. I didn't see anything else. So. Okay, the regional, we move on, regional sewer district, I think we had 2 meetings. One of them, we had last, let's see, what date was that? This was a Teams meeting, Microsoft Teams meeting with the SRF, which is the funding agency of the state. And, you know, and, there's 5 or 6 of us, you know, the commissioners and a couple of commissioners and Daryl and so Brett was there and Sean. So anyway, I think with, you know, they just kind of breezed through this, but, you know, they were talking maybe $3 to $6 million could be available. You know, they just said a low income area would have a better chance of getting this money, which, you know, we really don't have, you know, I think we didn't run a really income study for Hayesville, but anyway, they said they would have a better chance, and they, you know, they naturally some of this money goes to some of the communities that are able to charge $100 plus per month, and you know, we're looking at more of like a, I don't know exactly, but $85 or something like that as the max. And then they said that we could go after federal earmarks, which that's probably, you don't think that's going to be very successful.
Do not think it would be?
No, because they just think, you know, we'd have to get that attached to a bill, and we'd have to do a lot of political. Just, you know, just small project like this, they just didn't think it would be very successful, so. And then, I mean, I guess the bad part about it is this package has to be into the SRF by April 1st, and we get an answer on July 1st, and we would need to be ready to proceed. So, you know, with no place to put the sewage, because Jasper is gonna have to, they wanna build a plant, you know, this just doesn't seem realistic. So I don't know where, I don't know, Daryl, do you wanna put it? I think we're chasing our tail in some ways this year.
The stars aren't aligning the way they need to. So there wouldn't, SRF would basically be all like low interest loans. Okay, now they suggested that we reach out, and I think the process was already started, rural development, you know, USDA, you know, but that there's grant funding there and ways to proceed with that.
But that's the feds. I thought you said the feds weren't really having it, we're going to do.
I think the
Earmarks, they were suggesting, yeah.
This is money that they would be able to have or
And I
have.
thought Mary said that watershed, we ranked really high because of the critical watershed of White River. So what happened to that?
Depends which agency you're talking to.
Okay.
It was hard to get a good reading from SRF, the State Revolving Loan Fund. They were holding their cards pretty tight. You know, I didn't get a warm and fuzzy out of that meeting, you know, feeling. So there's a lot of work to be done. Clark Dietz is doing a lot of work, and I get you know, Mary's no longer with Clark Dietz, right? Okay.
I also know what she said, that's what.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so they're working, they're trying to see where Jasper is in the process. You know, SRF is wanting to, they wanted a clearer picture of how everything was coming together. And we don't have a good answer on how that's coming together.
So it's really, you know, this doesn't, you know, we were hoping that this would be something that we could put out for bids. Or that's what Mary indicated, or that's what I took it, that we would put these out for bids this summer. Be ready to go and even earlier than that, and then be able to start construction. But, you know, they said that there's no way that they'll give any money to that.
And
Because we have to have some place to put it, bring it to, you know, and
I guess one of the hurdles that should be cleared is the creation of the sewer district. I guess that's big on SRF and everybody's, you know, that's big on their radar if that's actually created. I went to the IDEM had their meeting, my days get, was that last Thursday? Okay. I went to that meeting, and all that was a public hearing from IDEM. It lasted 20 minutes, 2 people spoke, and that was about it. One was concerned he wanted to be isolated, didn't really want. There's a gentleman that had a cabin on the river, just wanted to be kind of left alone, and he was concerned about if the sewer district's approved, that then there could be, you know, then there's gonna be more neighbors. The other comment was from someone wanting to know if they could put fire hydrants and stuff up while we're digging the ground up and making a mess up in that area, if they can also run some water to create better fire hydrants and things. And those were actually the only 2 people that commented.
you usually can't run sewer lines and water lines, and you know, they've gotta be separate.
I know, but those were, I'm just saying, those were the only 2 comments. So now, by February the 7th, there you can write comments in until it's either February 6th or February 7th. So when those comments then are in, and that door closes, they thought that we should know something then by the end of February. And then if the district is actually created, the Du Bois County Regional Sewer District, that should get the ball rolling a little better, I think, to help for Jasper to have clarification and for them to be able to make decisions. This is the way I took it, I believe, right? You agree, Mike?
Sounds like what that person was thinking was, while everything's dug up and all.
But yeah, that was nothing wrong with their comment at all.
Trying to get more stuff done.
It was a valid point, yes.
So, you know,
So the guy
makes
was
sense.
asking, is he got a 50-gallon drum buried? I mean,
I don't.
It's going straight to the
I'm
ditch.
not gonna be crude here, but when I was a little kid, I could drive through southern Parsley County on my bike and see turds in the ditch. I don't see it anymore,
Yeah,
but sometimes I wonder, as isolated and as barren as Boone Township is, if the St. Henry one that is a proposed one isn't a higher priority. Because outside of a little dressing the ditch or running the ladder a little lower, I could probably point that out to IDIM tomorrow if I wanted to. And I don't want to impose that on anybody, but I just don't see how they rank this or work for groundwater quality. It just doesn't really make sense to me.
So you want to be open to the idea of possibly changing orders? and
No, I'm
rankings?
not. I'm just saying,
I'm just-
I
I'm just
know.
talking.
I'm talking about a more populated area with septic tanks that are 55-gallon drums. You don't know, old steel tank that's rusted out. And you can see a lot of runoff pollution from that. So I was just kind of surprised that this is with the way that it has with what you guys are presenting. I know that's not real populated up there, but you got a critical watershed there. So, and farming contributes to the phosphorus pollution too, so.
That was part of that guy's comment
Yeah.
about other sources. But that was basically
So
it.
I think we would, Clark Dietz is gonna come in here and talk to us, the new group of people. I think they're gonna introduce themselves to the council, probably, possibly at our next meeting, so. And maybe we'll know a little more about it, but I wanted to bring it up to everyone. I don't know, federal aid projects.
I can tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brent is wanting to work on some federal aid projects, which are, I'm gonna go back to the last one we did, was at Kentucky Street in Holland. It's a big federal project that we put some money toward, and he's trying to come up with some projects for the county. And he'd like to know if anybody wants to serve, like just to come up with some ideas. Portersville Bridge was another federal aid project where we got a lot of money from the feds to pay for most of it. We just paid a small portion of it. So it's kind of big items like that, transportation. So if anybody wants to help serve Brent, you'd have to contact him. He's trying to put a committee together. And then they're going to come up with or if you have some project ideas, like one of his ideas right now is maybe 400, which swings around and goes to Ireland. Maybe improving that road because that is a widely used corridor.
I guess there are federal programs out there and he was trying to gauge interest. If we have interest or if we don't have interest at this point, then it's no use spending a lot of time and effort, okay? Like community crossings, okay? We fund 25%, the state pays 75%, and that's for paving, type projects, smaller projects, okay? There are federal grants out there, which typically are significantly larger, where if we come up with 20%, then the federal government will potentially do 80%. Those would be more like big capital projects, and it thrown out Schnellville Road, widening Schnellville Road, a lot of traffic through there, Kellerville Road, and like she said, 47th Street or 400. If we have an interest in doing that, but the problem is then it's kind of a wish list of things. If we've got a couple $1 million burning holes in our pockets and we think we can, we want to because it's a long-term thing, start the ball rolling. The problem with that is everything that we identified, they all could be also revolving around the Mid-States corridor. You hate to start on Kellerville Road, Schnellville Road, or even if we improve 400, and then all of a sudden Mid-States corridor comes around, well, then we're going right through those projects, and we kind of look foolish if we spend a bunch of money doing that, or if they decide that they want an interchange at 500 north, the federal government does for the Mid-States. Well, and then we spend a bunch of money on 400, and we're like, okay, who was the morons that decided that, or what? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of unknowns to creating some kind of project, and if we don't have the genuine interest or feel like that we can dedicate $1 million or $2 million, then they don't want to spend a lot of effort and time, so.
But if there is some big project that he can get money for, we don't want to leave it on the table if we can get it improved. So that's what he's trying to do.
If there was something that, this was very early initial, if there was something that just stuck out to us as obvious that needed to happen,
So if you're interested, contact him. If you have an idea, contact him.
Yeah. If not, And if we, we almost have to also keep the one major project that we don't have, we have 11 unknowns on right now is the regional sewer district, right? Can we dedicate money for something on a wish list if we already have a big project up in front of us? So they're just gauging
And this isn't something he would do tomorrow. It would be a planning for,
years
Long
down
term.
the road, yes.
So you guys said earlier, the formation of the RDA or regional sewer district, will really help bolster our chances on getting money.
Yeah, I think you have to have that set up before they would even attempt to fund you.
well, the way I understand Thursday night's meeting, 30 days later, we could have it.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
We already got our appointee for,
Yeah,
two of them. So, I think we listen to Clark Dietz when they come back, see if they improved anything, got any new information. Because they're definitely gonna work with Jasper to see where they're at on the new plant.
I'm happy to work with, if there's something that comes up that you guys really think as far as a major federal project or something, I'm happy to work with.
I had a question for you guys at that meeting. Are they gonna overbuild this plant? I know they do anyway for rainfall and stuff, but is this gonna be really overbuilt? Because the writing's on the wall for development. Is that gonna be a contingency on how they build that plant if they're gonna do a separate one? Shouldn't it be at least,
Overbuild?
overbuild the plant capacity, treating capacity?
Well,
What if we build a plant and in 5 years, River Kirstein's develops 200 acres? Then what are we gonna do? Do we gotta upgrade the plant or do we gotta build another plant? What are we gonna do?
I think the one down here's got a lot of capacity left, so.
70%.
I think they're gonna design
They
it
run
the same way,
slower.
because what's the south side? It's like 60% utilized. And there's a capacity to double the size of the one down here.
Yeah, but they don't want to force main go to the south side.
I know.
So what about the one on the north side? Du Bois County sits like this. You got a watershed going north and a watershed going
Yeah.
south. They'd have to do a lot of, to get a force main all the way past Walmart, the old Walmart and stuff. I
Yes,
just don't want to miss the ball if some landowner sells his farm and then this plant's undersized. I just didn't know if they talked about it. I'm not saying.
I think there's plans that, it can be added on readily and kind of like the same way the south side is. They build it, but then they can double capacity if need be. That's my understanding. Everything is so preliminary right now. They don't, Jasper's got so many.
They
What
got
is it?
Mid States engineers working on it, and they.
And he's gonna make it ready to expand. That's good.
And anticipate the growth there.
Okay.
And the county, whatever capacity we put into it, or therefore, we have to pay for that percentage of that plant. So, as a county, so it's a.
Well, that's good. I figured it out. I didn't know the meetings. I just wondered what they said. I didn't know.
And the other, the other part of this is Holland, to hook Holland onto Huntingburg.
Which is a potential situation like I just talked about.
Right. So, but Huntingburg has the capacity.
And they're willing to do it. And the landowner is gonna be a lot less tricky to get to Huntingburg. From talking to them, so.
So if this goes too long, Holland may be first. I don't know. It's just sequential.
It's pretty fluid, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
so.
it sounds like.
I did want to give you an update, Ryan, with the EMS. He has the ambulances that we've ordered. He gave me an update, so I didn't know if you want to know that.
Yes.
The first remount that was approved in September of 2022 is currently in the process and scheduled to be completed the second week of February. So we're hoping to take that one.
Yay.
The second remount you approved in January. Well, he's ordered it this January. Its projected delivery date is January of 2025. The first new purchase you guys did in July of 22, they are hoping to start the build in January of 25, but he realistically thinks it might be mid-2025 before they start. And we may take the delivery of that in 25 or early 26. And then the second new purchase, which was approved April of 23, he's hoping they start that build around April of 26. And it could take 3 to 4 months, so fall of 26. That's crazy, isn't it?
So on the, on that encumbrance there, we've got $1 million something in ambulances.
That's because of all these ambulances.
Yeah, I mean, so does that include all of them?
I think it's all but the one that we just ordered this January, that you had that one in their budget.
And that's, okay, and that's the one the commissioners just approved.
Yes.
All right, makes sense.
I just thought you might want to know.
Yeah.
They're still on the radar.
Let's wait till Meredith gets back because, and by the way, I think I'm gonna get on that board on that group with Brett on the planning.
Okay.
I think we may have time on the next Monday's commissioner meeting. So they may discuss it at the end of the meeting because we have a shorter meeting next Monday.
I just hate to pass up, you know, like he was saying, possibly even a 20% match that we'd have to come up with. That's better than the other way around, when like some of these Ready grants are 80% you have to come up with, you know, that doesn't make sense. But when you can get 80% of the money from the federal government, I mean, I think it's something we'll at least look at.
Yeah.
But in addition to these grants, they're a lot more than 75-25 that we usually do, right?
I think most federals are 80-20.
Yeah.
But the amount of the
Or the dollar amount.
the dollar
Oh,
amount is
they're a lot.
huge,
Much bigger.
so the amount that we would be putting in will be a lot more anyway.
And then the next thing I got here is the May meeting date. I think I had a little conflict with that.
Yeah, I got a surgery on the 20th now.
So could we just move it? You think I was just looking, I mean, could we just move it up to the 13th? You think that's good? I mean, it's kind of, our April meeting's on the 22nd. So I mean, we could move it to the 13th because 20th or 27th, you know, that's Memorial Day, 27th day.
Yeah.
So we
The
can't.
13th.
I won't
Anybody have
make
any
it.
comments there?
I won't make it, but I didn't think I'd make the 20th either. Cruise. Come home on the 20th, so I might have to make it, but I won't be able to make the 13th.
Well,
When do you leave?
It's a long one. The 8th. But I don't know, how long are you out for your surgery? I know we kind of talked about this last time, just because we had.
Well, I mean, the surgery is just an outpatient surgery, but it's sinus and septum surgery, so they said a 2-week recovery period. But I mean, I should be up and moving around. You know, I have on the 28th, I have the follow-up checkup. So, I mean,
I'd make it so you can be here for sure. I mean, we didn't want to move it too late, right? We didn't want to go later in the week of the 20th because.
I'm at conference that week.
That's right, something you were gone.
I mean, if you don't mind, let's just set
Yeah,
it
leave it.
13th then of May.
I'll watch you on YouTube.
That's fine.
So move it to the 13th?
13th,
Yeah.
at 4:30.
Yes.
But if you can't be here at all, then you could be the 20th possibility.
yeah, your work to get done later in the afternoon anyway.
You would move it and then I wouldn't make it in and I feel that's all.
Okay, then. One of the next things I want to talk to is this commissary ledger. You know, again, I looked up the when we had the audit. You know, they recommend that the council at least reviews these and what the sheriff is giving us. It's not you know, there is a code. I think Meredith, you had sent that out this afternoon. What this can be spent on. And that's kind of what I had also, a similar thing that so I didn't know, what I'd like to do is just sit down, sit something to the sheriff or Joanne, just to go through a year of this, just to see, you know, what they spend it on or, you know, or the last 6 months even. And Meredith, you thought you could kind of contacted me that you would want to sit down with that? And I was gonna do it this first time, And I didn't know if anybody else, if you want, if you would have time,
I depending on the day, yeah, but I should be able to.
to try to coordinate that with the sheriff. And then I'd like to then, you know, this year, like January to June, I'd like to have a different group go and sit down with him and go through it, just so we understand. You know, but I just feel we ought to do this because the council does sign off on an audit to this effect. And I think it's important.
Are you gonna review the community corrections as well? They have a commissary as well.
I didn't know that until Greg said that either.
Do we, I don't remember getting that.
We don't get anything from them.
I don't think so.
We've never gotten anything
So
from them.
we need to reach out and ask.
Are we responsible to sign off on that too?
I get one
County funds.
every meeting, and it changes with the amount of inmates, or I don't know if you should use the word inmates, but the amount of people in the program. It's
Participants.
very participants,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, it's very basic, but I mean, yeah, I do see it, and,
Do they have a lot of money in it?
they have some, but not a lot. I mean, they have a little bit of a cushion. I think I don't want to say the number because I say it wrong, but, there's a little bit of
But not,
I can,
program fee money.
I can reach out and have him send you 2023s maybe.
Yeah.
that'd be a good idea.
We can do that. You know, you're talking about quite a bit of money here, you know, with the sheriff's.
Yeah, it's nothing like the sheriff.
What's in the sheriff's account?
Like right now, I see at the end of the year, 263, almost 264,000. So if us three, maybe you guys can, I'll talk to sheriff, he's gonna be around, and
Well, we definitely
Joanne
have.
does it, even, you know, we could go up there, I don't know what works best. In the afternoon or the morning.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm pretty good at feeling, and we can just go through and ask a couple questions. So,
I kind of feel ridiculous asking if he has enough money for the cars.
Well, that's what that is.
I mean, if that stays up, I'll do it. I mean, he can buy 4 cars with that. With all of that money, we're doing.
What he had.
Yeah, he's doing too.
He does a lot of, it looks like a lot of training and that kind of thing, you know,
Yeah.
travel training.
Well, they also have to pay for the commissary items that they sell.
They still
So
do
that
it.
was my question too. I mean, maybe we can wait until we sit down with them, but then why don't we see, I mean, I don't know that I saw even the.
There was some
They-
Walmart
they-
stuff, yeah, there was some
Well, they
stuff
buy
around
it,
with
you
a
know,
lot of
you know, they buy
Walmart
stuff.
places.
Yeah, but then,
To sell, you know, some, that's what I thought somebody.
They do the tapes, wasn't that a
You know,
controversy?
these fakes.
yes, I saw one that was like that, but yeah, I wouldn't be able to know, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that's
There's
what
not
I'm
a
saying.
detail,
She
you know.
can
and
show us
so
that,
those-
because I don't know what, you know, I don't know what these are.
Liability's lawsuit for some
No,
kids.
I don't know.
I just.
I'm asking to know what,
There else in there. Somebody buying it.
I guess.
Yeah.
right, well, that's fine, that's based on what I'm getting at.
But that's what it is. Expenses.
Yeah.
So the three of you guys will sit on it this time?
Yes.
You were spot on. I was doing my best.
I mean, I just, what I did is highlighted some ones that I was wanting.
I stopped
Some
in my
of them are
taxes last year.
$100 or.
Took them to,
But some of them.
But I'll,
Open-ended.
would, I mean, would,
or
or
no,
7:30 in the morning work better, 8 o'clock, or would it be better in the afternoon, or over lunch hour, or?
It really doesn't matter, I don't think. I think I can be flexible.
I have to avoid Monday mornings and they go to standing meeting and it's like, it's have to be there, so.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Otherwise, would it be better in the morning before you start your?
Oh, I think, yeah, I mean, that works fine for me, sure.
And you go away and slip away during the day. Okay, I'll set something up, we're trying to set something, a couple dates from now.
Okay.
Okay, Carol, did you want to talk about anything, or you have any issues?
I think we've got it all under control.
Ryan?
I'm good. We've covered it all.
Meredith? Alex, you got anything?
The meeting this week at the 7 o'clock, is that a buffet or Olive Garden, like you ordered your food?
I wouldn't know, I would say they're gonna, I'd say they're gonna go, I don't know.
I'm sure they'll have like a buffet, like
Kind of like they did last year. They just
Yeah,
had
that's
food
what I
and
was
you
gonna
just.
say.
It was good too.
Yeah, because last year they had catered in, so I'm sure it's gonna be like that. They're just gonna have something.
Yeah, aren't you the president? Aren't you in charge of it?
No, out of that part.
Oh, okay.
She's in charge of getting us there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the area.
That's pretty nice that it's right in our backyard, literally again,
Yes.
which is,
Yes, it
I think
is.
we'll have a good turnout again, so.
Well, I love to hear about the results.
Is that the group, the woman that just got appointed to the state, was that?
Yes.
Auditor of State.
Yeah, all of that happened right, and she couldn't tell them, and, just because of, privacy issues until it happened.
You taking her
So,
spot?
Doug, do you have anything else?
We had a 911 advisory board meeting in January earlier, and I was going to say that we were in a good position. We had 2 open positions and 1 good candidate, which we thought that would basically leave one spot still to fill. But like Stuart said, we just had one of the employees, the new hires in November of last year, just quit. So
She walked out in the middle of her shift, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I took
that's
it.
what he said, yeah.
yeah. I'm hearing what you guys are hearing, so, but yeah. So now we have 2 positions to hire in for that. Then he was talking about the $40,000 for the overtime and stuff, and mentioned, well, the upside is it's not paying the insurance and stuff and all that, so it's actually a net gain financially, but we do want to see all the positions filled. It just makes it work and be a lot more cohesive and everything. But their trainers are doing well, and that's pretty much it. Talking about working with Jasper, their 911 system and everything. So that's all I got.
Okay, yeah, I'll just make a quick report on jail, Justice Center out there. It seems like we're still working on the front of it, of the sheriff's office now. And it still seems like we're on schedule to finish. We're just in the sheriff's office part of it now. And possibly 1st of April, maybe we'll turn it over, hopefully turn it over. I think the furniture is scheduled to come in. And so let's hope it finishes up. I mean, there's been some cost changes, but I think we're still within the realm of what being able to afford. We're not dipping in any other funds, so.
Yeah, we got a little bit of money left.
I hope, we pretty well, we scrutinize every change, so we pretty heavily, so. Let's see if we can get her finished. That's all I have. So.
I'll make a motion to
Okay, hold on.
do anything.
Your next meeting is on Wednesday, February 21st at 4:30. So don't be coming on a Monday.
February 21st.
And we'll see you all Wednesday. I'll accept Meredith.
Right.
And some of us will show up on Monday because we never have usually don't get.
Well, you come on in, but we won't be here.
Yeah. Okay, otherwise,
Because that is a holiday for the
Doug,
county,
did you have
so.
something to say?
I would like to make a motion.
we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, Ryan, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's closed.
You did it. You skipped my
Yeah, we
public
need
comments.
to-
Oh! 30 minutes worth.
Can I reopen?
We reopen.
I'll make a motion to reopen.
Absolutely not, no. I am too late.